Want to know what a real sports bettor is betting on in week 8 of college football? In this video, you're going to find out. Eddie Walls, we're back. What is your best bet on the board for week 8, my friend?
It's going to be the last game on the board. It's going to be Indiana, Nebraska, under 51. I thought about this for quite some time. And what's the best defense that Indiana's played? It might be Maryland or Northwestern, but Northwestern and Maryland are not Rule in Nebraska. And I think that Nebraska has probably the worst OC, maybe in college football, but definitely in the Big Ten. They only run the ball to take time off the clock. They're not very overly efficient. Rayola struggled a little bit recently compared to the previous, the first few weeks. But I just think that Nebraska is a different beast when it comes to anything that Indiana has faced so far. The best competition that Indiana has faced so far is probably Maryland as a whole team, but they've fallen off of a cliff. So maybe Northwestern, where they did struggle at times in the second quarter to move the ball. This is a very, very pass-heavy offense. You're going to have to run it at some point on Nebraska. I just think that 51 is kind of egregious. If you think about it, Maryland and Indiana was 52. That's what it closed. No, 51 is what it closed at. We're at the same number for Nebraska. Are you serious? That can't be right. I have Nebraska's base total is like 36 or something like that. They run extremely slow pace, Indiana does. And I just can't think of a better spot to play an under with Indiana. It's probably the last chance you're going to have. This is probably, if you like Nebraska, this is probably the best buy spot as well. But Indiana, man, they are a different beast this year. I'm not really comfortable trying to fade them, but I think under is kind of a slam dunk play for me, to be quite honest with you. I'm around 47 and a half, 48. It felt good all week long. I was very shocked it didn't move there.
Yeah, so there you have it. That is Eddie's best bet of week 8. This is, of course, the RIS College Football Show. Before we get going with the show this week, where we're going to preview 5 or 6 of the best games on the slate, brand new bowl and FBS package up at Right Angle Sports that just went live with the first release going off tonight, as a matter of fact. At least 19 releases left. They're probably going to do more. That's typically what they do at RIS. So head on over to rispicks.com/order/CFB to order that package today. All right, Eddie, it's good to see you. Let's get back to it with this week's slate in week 8, man. We are officially, I think, past the halfway point with week 8. And we got some bangers. We do got some bangers this week on the slate. Let's start with the Crimson Tide that survive a miracle against South Carolina as big favorites, going on the road to Rocky Top at Tennessee. Minus 357 is the total. What do you think?
Yeah, I stayed away here. My numbers initially showed me that I should be playing over, but there's something wrong with Tennessee. There really is. We're talking 4 yards per play the last few games. They're going way slower than ever before. There's something wrong with Alabama's defense as well. That's very clear. South Carolina's quarterback had done nothing all year long. He had like a 75% completion percentage. I'm just so close on the numbers here. I think I'm 57 and a half. There were 55 and a half, 56s available early in the week. If I didn't bet them then I wasn't going to get involved later. I just don't know what's wrong with either of these teams. There's something definitely fundamentally wrong with Alabama, to where I feel like DeBoer is really, really showing out on offense because he has to. But this defense shouldn't be that bad. You have 3 of the best defensive minds basically as co-coordinators. Maybe there's too many heads in the room. I don't know. Too many chefs in the kitchen. And then on the other side, I've never seen a Heupel offense run at like 28, 29 seconds per snap. The offensive line is getting beat to death by Arkansas's defensive line a couple of weeks ago. They can't move it on Florida. That's not taking away from anything from Florida. I think that they've improved slowly on defense. Yeah. But, it just feels like this is a game of inches to me. If you're really confident, then bet it. But I'm not. I'm not there yet. What about you? You got any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I like Alabama.
Okay.
I just think you nailed it with Tennessee. They were gifted that win last week, if we're really being honest. It's 2 straight weeks of them just looking really putrid. Why Billy Napier did not go for 2 with his backup quarterback, I will never understand. Mm-hmm. I think his explanation Still didn't clarify why they didn't go for two, but just really a gift, to let Tennessee take that game to overtime. You're a 14.5, 15-point underdog. The idea that you wouldn't go for two there with your QB2 is just egregious to me. So I think that really said a lot more about Tennessee and how they're sort of lagging expectation here. And I just think Milroe was certainly capable of going in here and putting pressure on this Tennessee defense. And I don't know if they can keep up based on what they've shown, the last 2 weeks. So I do like Alabama. I'm not running to bet it, but I do like that side ultimately. All right, Michigan at Illinois. It's a top 25 matchup. Michigan minus 3.5. They were off last week going to Illinois. What a weird game, wild game that was last week against Purdue. What a thrill. Michigan minus 3.5 with a total, Eddie, of 44.5.
Yeah, I bet over earlier in the week. I don't think that I would get involved in 44.5, 45, if I'm going to be honest with you. I took 42.5 and 43. I have, I mean, like, it doesn't take long for you to realize that this Illinois defense might not be very good when Purdue's backup quarterback throws up a 40 ball in the second half on them. I didn't think that I thought that there was something wrong all year long with this defense, to be quite honest with you. And I thought that it got covered up by Kansas inefficiency early in the season, and then Penn State just stalling out on drive after drive. And then Michigan comes into the season. You're thinking that the defense has to be so incredible. And I, like everybody else, just forgot that their defensive coordinator likes to blitz at maybe the highest rate in college football. They have a plethora of injuries. And I mean, now we're getting a throwing quarterback who's probably a step up with Tuttle. It just all made too much sense to me. But to be completely clear, my number was 45.5, 44.5. You're pushing it there. I just don't see any chance that I was comfortable in under at any point, especially based off of the fact that Michigan, their base total now has risen 10 points since where I had it in preseason. I can't continue to keep on ignoring that. So I have to get involved at some point. So it felt like a team that just gave up 40 points in the second half felt pretty good. As far as a side, somebody I really, really respect who knows Michigan inside and out said that 3 is even too low here for them coming off of a bye, Illinois just playing in overtime. And also, who has Illinois really beaten when you look at the resume now? So
right.
I didn't do anything with the side, but I thought that was all very good points that lined up. You have any thoughts here?
No, I don't. But Metz asks in the chat, do we close above or below 45 on this game?
I think we close right at 45, it looks like to me.
Got it. If you guys have questions, make sure to get them in the chat. We will answer a few as the show goes along here. Pretty active day in the chat here, Eddie, as we move to probably the game of the week. Georgia at Texas. This thing has gotten pushed all the way out to 6 with a total of 56. I know Georgia has looked bad. I know they have looked underwhelming and maybe underperformed, Eddie, but at what point is there a buy on Georgia to be had in this one?
I don't see a 6 on my screen, but I'll tell you, I mean, that's nuts. I mean, that's crazy. I don't actually know anybody on Texas. Everybody I knew thought that 4 and 4.5 was crazy.
Yeah, let's say it's a consensus 5.
Okay. Still, it's just it's absolutely insane to me. Wow. I mean, we are giving Texas a whole ton of credit right now for beating absolutely nobody. I mean, they got the win. They got the win at Oklahoma. They got the win at Michigan, and Michigan looks awfully suspect right now. I think that it's getting to the point now where it's definitely Georgia or pass for me. But I did play over in this game early in the week at 55.5. I would play 56 over. It's still out there. 56.5 is kind of pushing it for me. But I mean, let's face it. We have 2 real Heisman quarterbacks here who are going to be in the NFL next year with a ton of weapons around them. We haven't seen Texas have to defend the pass against anybody yet. I had questions about that coming into the season. I'm just still blown away by the line movement in this game. I mean, this is definitely serious money for Texas at this point.
Right.
It's Thursday. We're not messing around on Mondays or Tuesdays anymore. Right. Somebody really, really believes that this Texas team is absolutely the best team in the country. It's hard to argue, but it's also hard for me to think that Carson Beck is going to remain still on the sidelines, while Texas runs it up on them. I mean, this is an NFL game, basically. This is a real game. I mean, this is this is going to make or break Georgia's season if they lose convincingly.
Right.
I mean, let's face it. I don't know if I guess Georgia probably gets a pass no matter what and ends up in the playoffs because that's the way the system, is kind of working. They're not going to leave SEC teams out with 2 losses, I imagine. But man, I never saw this line coming, to be quite honest with you. I think I made it 3 or 3.5, and if we really get to a 6 or a 6.5, I think I have to get involved. I still prefer my over position a little bit better, but wow, it's pretty wild.
I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head when the last time we got Kirby Smart's Georgia as a 5-point underdog in any game. Probably you have to go back a long, long time.
Weren't they just? I think this is the first time they've been underdogs in like 2 years, right? Because they were favored in Alabama.
Yes, so it's. I will say though, I mean, I've got a future on Texas at a not as great number preseason, but in season as the national champ, and until somebody proves that they're not, I feel good about it. But you're just talking about a number here. It just feels like a Georgia or nothing at this point for me. I
just
5.
find it odd that the entire market on SEC every single week is all overs every single week, and they don't win. And I'm on it too. Like I'm on the same.
Right.
I can't say that they're wrong because every single week I show value in all these teams. But I mean, like Tennessee, LSU, Old Miss last week. Like there was like 104 passes in that game, and I was dead at halftime. Like, I don't know. And then like LSU and Arkansas is being steamed over now. I mean, like I don't know. Like the offenses are supposed to be well ahead of the defenses, but it makes me a little weary that like every single week I show the same value as everybody else in the marketplace, and it's not really winning. So
hey, to be clear on that LSU score, that was a field goal in overtime away from probably going over in the second overtime. So still could have found a way to get there, right? You're never dead if you have an SEC over.
Sure would have loved
it. All right, let's move along here. Nebraska at Indiana. You kind of touched on this for the total. Any thoughts real quick on the side, just as we blow through it?
Yeah, I mean, I already said it. I just think it's like Indiana or a pass right now, if you like it that way. And I'll give you guys an additional bet at the end here since we did that.
A bonus.
Yeah, we'll give you a bonus.
A little bonus.
There you go.
We love the bonuses on this show, on the RES College Football Show. The chat is going absolutely nuts right now with that news, Eddie. All right, back to the SEC we go. LSU at Arkansas. Seems like Taylor Green is going to go for Arkansas. LSU off that monster win against Ole Miss. LSU is -2 with a total of 56.5. Why is this game 2? What am I missing here, Eddie?
Game 2?
-2, I should say, for LSU.
I mean,
it feels a little short to me. Maybe I'm missing something.
I kind of agree with you, but I mean, let's face it, Arkansas did beat a very, very good team 2 weeks ago. Now they're coming off of a bye. LSU just played an overtime game where they probably didn't deserve to win. And I've really struggled to figure out what exactly Arkansas is. I mean, put up a ton of points against Oklahoma State, lost in overtime. Almost lose to UAB earlier in the week, which looks worse and worse by the week. Their Green is the most inefficient, like hard to read quarterback of all time. Looks terrible against Auburn. Comes back the next week and does absolute great things, just putting balls in buckets against a much better defense than that. But at the same time, I'm probably right around 3.5 here. I feel like this is a game that if you're going to bet Arkansas, I would probably suggest you doing it like live or second half and seeing if Green is healthy. Because that's where I'm just like, man, I don't want to be involved in the over and have him come out gimpy. Because if he can't run, then what does that offense look like?
Exactly.
That's why I liked LSU a little bit earlier in the week. I was thinking about playing it just because of the Green situation. But I mean, all reports are that he's fine. But man, my numbers are like 58.5, 59, and I stayed away from betting anything here because of that. I mean, if he comes out and he's throwing rockets and he's, doing 10 yards up the middle and stuff like that and looking like he did, earlier in the season, then I'm happy. But I don't know, too much trepidation for me to get involved.
One thing I'll add on Arkansas, and it could have just been a Tennessee game plan, I don't know. But, we had the over in Tennessee, Arkansas, and although Tennessee didn't really do nearly enough, in terms of scoring touchdowns, Arkansas had a clear game plan to really bleed that clock and to
Yeah.
take the air out of the ball. And so, Eddie, I wonder with sort of LSU's, how prolific they are on offense, similar to what we thought Tennessee was 2 weeks ago, if it wouldn't be the same, if it wouldn't be a lot of game management from Green and a lot of running the ball. So that's what would give me pause on just that total there, because it feels like a slam dunk, but just based on the way that game looked, I'm like you. I've got some trepidation running to it. All right, Notre Dame minus 10.5 with a total of 51 against Georgia Tech. Going here next, Eddie.
Yeah, this is a pretty big bet for me on both sides. Actually, I laid Sunday night with Notre Dame with a stupid number that I won't even talk about because I hate when people do that. But I would play under 51 for sure. And I don't really know what the King situation is, but I'm still below 51 if he does play. A run-based offense against Notre Dame, it's not great. And I know that the All-American cornerback is out for Notre Dame probably for the season, but you have one really good wide receiver at Georgia Tech. They have plenty of defensive backs at Notre Dame. That's turning into DBU for sure. 51 is pretty wild. To put it in perspective, last week, North Carolina, Georgia Tech closed 58. So, you mean to tell me that the only way that this gets crazy and it gets out of hand is if Notre Dame runs it up. Also, I think that people are probably forgetting that this is kind of a neutral site. It is played in Georgia at the Georgia Dome, but there's going to be plenty of Notre Dame fans there. I would play under 51.5 Shadow Slayer. I did. I think that's the number that I got.
50.5.
I'm like 48 if King plays, and I'm at like 46 if he doesn't. I know that he's iffy. I'm starting to think that he is going to play, though, because it's very hard for me to believe that people are just pounding over and Georgia Tech without some kind of information there. So it's probably a little bit of a smaller bet for me at that rate. But that just feels wild to me. Notre Dame, nobody's moved it on them at all. What's the most success we've seen somebody have on them? I can't think of anybody. I think we'll find somebody that has success on them now that the injuries are starting to pile up. But Georgia Tech isn't the offense that's going to do it to me, I don't think.
Right. So there you have it. All right. I'll do my best bet, and then we'll get your bonus, and then we'll get out of here if that's fine.
Of course.
All right.
Actually, let's talk just a couple more games. There was one that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Because I think that we need to start doing some G5 stuff.
Love it.
I think that I don't think that most people that do shows like this like to talk about G5 because it's not really exciting. It's not the SEC or whatever, but there are some matchups this week. There's one particular that I think is really, really going to unfold for the MAC. And that is Miami, Ohio and Ohio. I think specifically Miami, Ohio had probably the toughest schedule to start the season. And now we're starting to see why they were kind of the MAC favorites in the preseason. They have a nasty defense. Ohio lost a lot of people in the transfer portal. They've come out with kind of a nasty defense as well. Nobody besides Toledo in the last 2 years has scored more than 23 points against Miami, Ohio's Chuck Martin defense. That is absolutely a game to watch if you like MAC football and you're looking at futures. I did consider placing a bet on Miami, Ohio to win the conference. Now that they look so awful, you get a very, very good price there. But I'm a little trepidatious because they won it last year and they did it with a running back. And the MAC is a little bit more talented this year. But I am on the under in that game at a number that I would still play at 44. So I wanted to give that. So that's a bonus bet for you guys. And now also, I did want to just talk Oregon and Purdue really quick. I don't have anything involved in this game, but I would love for anybody to give me a write-up or a reason why Purdue is a bet this week. Do you have anything there, John? I think you might be muted. Either that or I'm muted.
No, I don't have anything on that one. It was a slap knocker last week, but nothing on this one. The follow-up for both those.
I've gone back and forth on that game 15 times this week, and it's giving me so much pause. So I just can't believe that Purdue is taking real money at some point during the week this week. And we have a backup quarterback. I know it's the worst spot in the world for Oregon. I haven't bet anything in this game, But I mean, this whole entire line is just absolutely wild to me. We're taking over money now with an Oregon defense that hasn't given up any points in the second half to absolutely anybody all year long. I don't know. I'm probably just going to sit on the sidelines, but if anybody wants to DM me why they're on Purdue, why they're on the over, anything, I just help me out here because my numbers are so bad on this game. Like I'm like Oregon 33, like 55. And when I'm that bad, I just can't do anything. But anyways, all right. I wanted to get those. I wanted to get the bonus.
So is, just to be clear, is Miami Ohio under 44 your best bet, or it will be?
It's a bonus bet, but yeah, I mean, it's not my best bet. I think my best bet was Indiana left over.
Indiana.
And
yeah. Exactly. Well, that's what I try to do with my best bet every week is I try to have a little bit of G5 representation.
There you go.
We did it last week. Ed was saying how great the show was doing the past 2 weeks. And of course we go over thanks to the mush there. So he didn't do that this week. He didn't do it. So we can bounce back, I think, freely now.
All right.
Well, we're going to Memphis and we're taking North Texas plus 11.5 at the University of Memphis. I think this is really quite simple. I think Memphis is getting credit where credit is not necessarily due. I mean, what has Memphis really done this year, Eddie? I mean, they beat up on this pathetic South Florida team with their backup quarterback in a really weird situation with the hurricane and the game moving and all these things and the injuries. They beat a Florida State team that might have the most anemic passing offense in football. They beat North Alabama, one of the worst teams, even in the FCS. They beat Troy and their backup quarterback, and Troy looks like the biggest fade in college football right now. I mean, what really has Memphis done? They play one good passing attack, and it was Navy, and they lose outright as 9.5-point favorites. So I'm trying to figure out how we're getting to 11.5 here with Chandler Morris on the other side, who I believe is tied for the lead in touchdowns. And every single week, he's leading his team up and down the field. Memphis has running back injury problems. Yes, Cam Fancher gave North Texas a fit last week because of his mobility. Seth Hennigan is not that. He is a sitting duck in that pocket. And so I think you can just totally take that out of the equation. So I just think getting 2 scores here and what I feel like is going to be a back and forth game, Eddie, is just going to be good. I don't think Memphis's defense has really been that tested outside of Navy. And it didn't look good against Navy. So I think 2 scores here is just a little too much.
What do you think of over in this game?
There's absolutely no way I would ever touch the under. I don't think either team is going to get many stops. So I think the over is good.
Let's think about this really quick. So last year, Memphis was 132nd in pass defense, right?
Yep.
They didn't address any of that in the offseason whatsoever. Just JUCOs were brought in for depth. Who's the best quarterback that they faced so far? Maybe DJU? I mean,
I would say Navy, the Horvath.
This team has been blessed in the fact that they faced 3 backup quarterbacks, including Troy's backup quarterback, who actually got some yards on him. And North Texas gives up about 450 yards of passing every single game, it feels like. Exactly. I really don't understand the under money in this game whatsoever. I like your North Texas side. I think that the over is very good as well. I don't understand how anybody can look at this Memphis team and think that they're like a legit team to play in the playoff. The only team that they faced so far with a winning record, they gave up 50 points to. They lost. Exactly. I mean, they gave up 510 yards to Navy. And I mean, my only trepidation always with North Texas is going to be that like they really are willing to give up 450 yards passing to Cam Fancher. They want to get into a shootout. They want to see what happens on the last possession of the game. That's how their coaching staff calls plays. So I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be boots on the ground. So
good.
Yeah.
Do you go to a lot of games?
I always do try to go to some Memphis games. Sometimes I'll take the family, but it's a good time here in town. So it's a good offensive show. So and it's very affordable. So every time I get a chance, I like to go. So we'll be there on Saturday night, man. Looking forward to it. Lots of points and a North Texas cover. We don't ask for much on this show, Eddie. That's all we're asking for today. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Real quick, couple things, housekeeping. Tomorrow, Eddie and I are going to be back right here on the YouTube channel for an NBA season preview. That's right. Eddie's going to go through all of the teams, every single one, all 30 of them. And I'll be right here with him. So we'll get into some regular season win totals, some thoughts briefly on each team. You're not going to want to miss this with the season bearing down on us. And of course, go to respicks.com for the newest and the latest college football package, respicks.com/order/CFB. That's going to take you through the bowl season. The first release is live tonight. So make sure you get over there at respicks.com and get your package. Eddie, thanks as always, my friend. Best of luck this week, and we'll see you next Thursday, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great one, John. Good luck to everybody. Have a good weekend.